Kathryn Moore joins us. First, some supporters to thank, and thank you for listening. This episode is supported by CCW Digital, leaders responsible for operations, information technology, contact centers, customer care, service, and support are invited to register for a free CCW Digital membership. Membership includes networking with 100,000 plus qualified industry professionals, quarterly executive research reports, product matchmaking, and more. Go to ccwdigital.com to join the community. This episode is also supported by the CCW Conference and Expo. The event will empower you to test, learn, and try the next big thing in customer experience optimization. Are you interested in mining data across touch points for personalized and predictive data? Are you trying to integrate your systems to get a more complete view of the customer? Are you figuring out what innovations to invest in? Chatbots, virtual assistants, AI, VR, biometrics, to name a few? Go to callcenterweek.com to register. Kathryn Moore joins us and discusses the difference between omnichannel versus interconnected retail. She's got one foot in today and one foot in tomorrow each day. An Atlanta native and originally a thespian, she learned how to try things on stage, something which she brings to the office. She shares that you can only fail quickly and cheaply if you actually commit. Kathryn got her master's and initially went into quantitative retail research, where she learned that you must have the right context for your quantitative data. She taught herself to avoid the tunnel vision that allows you to show that you're right when you might not be. We take the opportunity to discuss generational similarities and differences, and the fact that some differences might simply be the stage that you're at in your life experience. Welcome to CCW Digital on B2B IQ. I'm your host, Seth Adler. Download episodes on ccwdigital.com or through our app in iTunes, within the iTunes podcast app, in Google Play, or wherever you currently get your podcasts. Kathryn Moore.
Any way that a customer could purchase from us or interact with us is something that we want to control, and we want it to be a uniform, positive experience. And so we want to build strategies for our business that think about, how does that look right now? How can we do a better job of bridging digital in our 2,000 plus stores?
Right.
And 5 new that we're opening up this year that we're very excited about.
Congratulations.
And not only how do we bridge them now, but how do we keep them growing in similar ways in the next 5 to 10 years?
All right. So you're in today and you're also in tomorrow.
Yes.
Quick question. Why don't we just call this omni-channel?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I think because it's not multiple channels, it's a single channel that is expressed in different ways. They all have to work together.
Yeah, take that omni-channel. It's one channel. It's the
really
customer's
is.
channel.
Because you still need a water heater. Do you care if you bought it online or if you bought it in a store?
I do not.
Either way, you got your water heater.
Yeah.
And you probably researched it online before you came into the store to make sure that your store had one, because you really want to take a hot shower.
I do.
Within the next 24 hours, probably.
Without question. At least once.
Exactly. So we want to make sure that we are thinking about this as a single strategy.
And because omnichannel, if you think about it, because you're making me, is from the retailer's perspective. That's not from the customer's perspective.
No, it really should be a single experience for a customer. They should be able to pull up their shopping list from digital, either while they were on the train and they have been putting it on their phone with our digital app, or if they were surfing the web at their job and they did it online, that they can then walk into our store and have that available and ready for them, or have the products already pulled for them at the front of the store.
Look at that.
So they can pick them up and go.
Boom.
So it can be a very smooth experience for everyone.
Okay, so that's today. Tell me more about today. You know, like what we know now that we didn't know even 6 months ago about today, about today's consumer, about today's kind of delivery, about tying it all together and making sure that Seth has no problems checking out.
I think it's that we continue to refine what a smooth experience looks like for customers.
Okay.
I think we've always known what customers want to get out of experience. We know our pros want to get in and out quickly. They tell us time after time, time is money. I don't want to spend time away from my job site because that means that I'm not earning a paycheck.
Literally losing money.
Literally losing money. So the faster you can get me out, the fewer times that I can go to your store because, oh my gosh, I forgot a box of nails or whatever the case may be. So they want a very smooth experience that happens very quickly. Our customers want to be reassured that their home is going to be done right, that they have the right materials, that they can actually do this themselves. Because I don't know if you've ever replaced a toilet. I've learned how to now that I work at Home Depot.
I see. And I haven't, just for full disclosure.
There are a couple of little,
nuances
to it. Exactly. There are a couple of little tricks that you need to know. So we want to be able to give them that experience, and I think we just continue to realize more and more use cases in which that takes place for a customer. But at the end of the day, the need has always been there. Got it.
All right, so that's today. We're just refining. If you're a pro, great. If you're not a pro, fine. Refining. Now, the days, the moments, the hours that Kathryn is thinking about 5 years, 10 years in the future, what does that mean? How do you do that, at your desk while you're dealing with today?
That's a really good question. I mean, part of it is understanding that any solution that we make today has to roll out to 2,000 plus stores for us. And that takes time. So if you're thinking of a solution, it can't be just because, an app is popular right now, so we have to put it in our stores right this second. Instead, I have to think of what's checkout going to look at like in 5 years when all of this finally gets through. Not that it always takes 5 years to get something into our stores.
Understood.
But
the reality on the ground at the time that this actually comes out, is it worth doing this thing? And if we do this thing, how different is it going to be once we realize it?
That's exactly right. We have to think about, is this worth it to roll out over 18 months? And will it continue to be the correct solution for our customers? You think about the Blu-ray and DVD issue of, it was great to have both of those at first, but at some point something has to win out, and we have to think about that and be ready for that, whatever that thing is. So when we're rolling things out to the stores.
We can't just bet on DVD HD.
Because if you were, we'll call it 2000, when those were, going back and forth, you wouldn't have known.
Nope.
Hindsight is pretty clear that it was DVD, but...
No, it was Blu-ray versus DVD HD. Yeah. But, right, exactly. But that's only because we know that now.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what we know now, as far as Kathryn is concerned.
Yes.
How are you this retail person, though? Where did you grow up?
In Atlanta. I'm an Atlanta native.
Oh, you are?
I am. I'm one of the few.
Huh. And so you would be a Braves fan?
I am.
Okay. And do you remember the 90s Braves?
Oh, absolutely. I was there for our World Championship season, the only one.
And the 15 whatever playoff appearances?
Yeah, it was a great time to be a Braves fan.
It was. It was not as good of a time to be a Mets fan, which is what I am.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Right, exactly.
But you guys got us back with calling him Larry.
Larry, Chipper Jones. That's right. That's exactly. But, I mean, Greg Maddux and Tom Clavin and Steve Avery and it was ridiculous. It was so good. Yeah. Anyway, Javi Lopez behind the plate, right?
Wonderful. And actually, the new Braves Stadium is right near our office. We can see it from our office, which is nice. So
you love the Braves.
I do. Right. I get to keep them close by.
When you were a kid, besides being a Braves fan, what were you into?
I was a huge nerd, and I say that in the most loving way and not a self-deprecating way.
No, that's a good thing now. Everybody, I mean...
It's cool now. It wasn't cool when I was a kid, but it's cool now.
All right. I think it has been cool for a while to be a nerd.
It's definitely a lot cooler now, and I'm so excited. But I was into math.
Oh, sure.
Into... science, all of those things. I loved school and loved reading and had a big personality. And in that, I can remember one of my youngest stories is my mother me coming home with a note to my mother from a teacher that says, you need to put her in drama classes. She needs this personality needs to go somewhere.
Did we do that?
We did. Yeah. So, did a lot of different things in school and outside of school, and loved that and loved learning about all of that.
Could you sing too?
Could is a strong
That's
word.
not where we want you. We want you acting is what we want.
We tried.
Yeah. So what were roles such as what?
Oh gosh, it was a little of everything. High school plays and
but what roles I'm saying? Yeah.
Oh gosh, I remember we did 1984 one year, which has become a little more salient.
As a play.
Yikes. I think about it now because it's become a lot more salient in today's times.
Well, people are talking about it.
Yeah, people are talking about it more now. So that's one that comes to mind.
Lesson from the stage did you take forward?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of the things that I took forward were that it's okay to try things. It's okay to fail and try things because you get a new chance all the time. At Home Depot, we talk about it as failing fast and moving on.
Right.
And fortunately, we have a lot of places that we can try things, and we're able to. If you're going to fail, at least do it fast and move on to the next thing that doesn't fail.
How does that apply to the theater, though? I wonder what
it's being able to try things because every night's a new show and every night's a new experience, and you can try something without having a fear of failure. It's being willing to put yourself out there,
right,
and go for it.
The cost is small if I make an error this night because tomorrow night it's a whole new show.
And at least I committed to it.
Right.
The biggest failure to me is not trying something, not committing to it. And I think that's been true not just in theater, but in school and in life and at Home Depot as well.
Absolutely. Where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to college? I mean,
I went to Georgia Tech twice.
What does that mean? I don't
Georgia Tech Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
So I went to undergrad there.
Sure.
Enjoyed it. Went out to the business world. Had a great time. Decided, you know what? I'd really like a master's degree. Went back and got my MBA.
In?
Focused in entrepreneurship.
Okay. Because they have a pretty good supply chain.
They do.
Master's degree, right? Okay. But instead of talking about that for the time being, where did you go out when you went out?
I did market research.
Okay.
I worked for a really big market research company.
You were doing focus groups?
I was doing more of the quantitative
Such
side
as?
of. So retail measurement scanning, tracking brand market share, tracking sales, tracking some quantitative survey data as well.
So this is all information that we love, right?
Yes.
Anybody listening to this loves that information. What's the problem with that information as a practitioner?
Is that you have to have the right context for that data.
How do you mean?
It means that it's great to know that your sales are going up, but are they going up because you did something to change that they're moving up? Or is it that there's just something new in the market or there's a growing population? So you have to know what you've done to cause changes. You also have to know what's driving those changes outside of your own organization.
Same-store sales aren't just same-store sales.
No. There could be a lot of different things going on. There could be weather. There could be social media. There could be a migration to that store's area. Miami's a place that's growing that we are right now. So their population's growing here. There's so many things that could happen, even just weird one-off things that are happening. So you have to have context around a lot of this.
How often was the context off, in your opinion? Understanding you only did it for a certain period of time. You were a certain level. Okay, fine. But it sounds like that's a big lesson for you. How do you know that? In other words, was it prevalent that context was wrong often?
It's definitely prevalent. And I think it to me, it's not just context, it's tunnel vision. It's, I want this thing, let's prove it.
Sure.
Without thinking about what are the other things that I'm not considering here.
Or I'll prove it with the data. Now let's make the data prove what I think.
Exactly. There are definitely people out there who do that.
Sure. No,
Yeah.
it's I think it's a weakness that is acceptable in that, we if we're professionals, we think that we know, and I'll just show you the data to make sure it knows, and well, that's obviously not a great way of doing it. Why do you think you went back to school after you had this very interesting job where you were seeing, results in a different way?
A lot of the people that I respected that I worked with had higher degrees, had MBAs, and I thought that I wanted to be a brand manager. I was convinced because I was working with brand managers.
Right.
Loved what they were doing, and I wanted to be on the other side of the table.
Yeah. So you get the degree, and then when did you realize that you didn't want to be a brand manager?
Pretty quickly, actually. I talked to, other brand managers outside of that company, and realized that it's a lot of putting out fires. It's making sure that the ship just keeps going and that the fires don't drown you.
Okay.
Which is a really tough and respectable job.
Sure.
But it wasn't for me.
That's not what we want to be doing.
Yeah. I wanted to be able to look 5 years out and think about, what is that brand going to be doing?
Yeah.
How do I get to make the cool decisions instead of just keeping the ship afloat?
How did you then land this job, which seems to be the perfect role?
Yeah, so I had a great internship with Home Depot. They have a fantastic internship program that they recruit a large number from a large number of different schools. And I was actually working in their customer insights group. So they were rehashing their customer insights group, kind of building it back up from the ground. And I got a chance to work with them, help them build it because I was the one who had market research knowledge.
Right.
Along with a bunch of consultants who were like, we'll figure it out. And they did. They did a great job figuring it out.
Right.
That's a bunch of very flexible people who
Sure.
figure
Management
out
consulting? Absolutely.
management consulting, who figure out how to get the job done one way or another.
Sure.
So getting to stand up that organization was a great opportunity. And then one of my last projects was working with the team that I am now on a pilot that they were working on, kind of a new thinking of a store.
Right.
And they said, you know what, we really like that. We'd like to do a lot more analytics of when we put things together.
Yeah.
We would like to, think of new strategies as well. Why don't you come over?
There we go.
And that's how I got here.
Here she's got math. Now she's got, she likes to write. She can do all those things.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a little bit of a shift in conversation?
Let's do it.
All right. What generation do you consider yourself?
I consider this might be a niche Atlanta thing, but we call it the Oregon Trail generation.
The Oregon Trail generation.
Which means older millennial.
So I know what you're talking about, even though I've never heard that phrase.
I think it's an Atlanta radio phrase.
Fair
One
enough.
of our popular radio DJs calls it that.
Here's how I do it, right? You got the boomers, then you got the Gen X, that's me, up until roughly 1980.
Yep.
Okay. Then between 80 and 85, there's the Gen Y. I call that Gen Y. You're calling it the Oregon Trail?
Yes.
Now can you explain what that means?
So millennials are a really wide swath, and younger millennials they're digital natives.
Sure.
Really. They never had a weird operating system. They never had DOS.
Right.
They never played Oregon Trail when they were kids. And it was that very simple game that was just revolutionary to us because that was the first time you got to interact with computers.
Got it.
So that's why I think it's a very different generation. Those who grew up with the old operating system, those who it was always here.
Yeah. So that's the half step that I agree with you about. So it's like 80 to 85. Are you born before 85?
Pretty close, yeah.
Ish, at least.
ish.
Right, exactly. So there's that half step. So if you don't mind, for the millennials listening,
Yes.
and for the Gen Xers listening,
All right.
of both of whom you relate,
Yes.
right? Or both to whom you relate. Explain each generation to the other. So first, explain Gen X to the millennials.
Oh, gosh. That's really hard.
Sure. Because we're talking about people and we're painting them with a really broad brush.
We are.
So, of course, each person is different, but the folks that are kind of over 35 are X, in this case, Generation X.
Yes.
The folks that are under kind of 25, let's just say, for, the purposes of this conversation, are millennials. And what do you notice about that group and what do you notice about the other group?
Yeah, I find Gen X to be, I don't want to say less curious because that's not really it. It's that they are more decisive, I think is really what it is.
Okay. In what how so?
In most life decisions.
Just boom. I'm making that
it's
decision.
that they know what research to go after.
Okay.
And they will kind of pick their avenues of I want to find out X, Y, Z, and once I found out those three things, then I can make my decision. Versus younger generations, kind of the young millennials, I find need to absorb so much more information, and they almost, I don't want, maybe get paralyzed by decision making because there's so much available to them, and they know that there's always going to be a new set of information coming. So to me, the divide is how you consume information.
Sure.
Is can you filter out what you don't actually care about and quickly get to the heart of it and make a decision, or do you just want to continue to consume and think that there's going to be a better decision coming down the pike?
And the reason, of course, that, as you call them, younger millennials, because I guess some people call you a millennial, and so that's how you separate, right? So the reason, of course, that they do that is because there are always better options.
There are, and they've always had it at their fingertips. And they know that there's something better always coming, and there's going to be a new way to get information very quickly.
So why would I make a decision now if I could just wait 6 months? Is going to be like so much easier.
Yeah.
That would be like starting a rental car business the month before Uber launched.
Exactly, but I will kind of caveat all of that with I have trouble knowing what's generational differences and what is age differences.
How do you mean?
Because I think that there's a huge chasm that happens, from the time that you're 16 to 20.
Sure.
From the time that you're 20 to 25. From the time that you're 25 to 35.
Sure.
And an individual's personality changes and the way that you approach the world changes so much in those couple of time zones that it's hard to know,
which is which. And
which is
what.
which, yeah.
So I'll meet you where you are when the boomers were 2025. You know what they called them?
The me generation.
When Gen X was 2025, you know what they called them?
The me generation.
When millennials 2025, of course.
And
because
that's
what that is. When you're in your early 20s,
Of course.
That's
Before
what
you
the
have
deal
kids,
is.
you don't have to carry about anybody else.
Hello.
So that's my caveat to judging people based on their age range.
I love it. But everything you did say does make sense as far as the groups of people that we're talking about. When you started to describe Gen X, I felt like that's exactly right, Kathryn. You know exactly what I'm thinking. All right, so I have 3 final questions for you. I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll ask you them in order.
Okay.
What has most surprised you at work? What has most surprised you in life? And then on the soundtrack of Kathryn Moore's life. One track, one song that's got to be on there. First things first, though. What has most surprised you at work?
I would say what's most surprised me at work, specifically at Home Depot, is how different every one of our stores can be.
But wait a second. Isn't that not supposed to be the case?
Well, we have different floor plans for every one of our stores, and
But that's not what you mean. What do you mean?
No, that's really
that
what I
is
mean
what you
is
mean.
that the experience is going to be different every time you step into a Home Depot. There are a couple of things that are going to remain the same. We're always going to sell lumber. We're always going to sell live goods. We're always going to sell appliances.
Yeah.
But the way that store looks and the way that they sell those things and which appliances they're selling are always going to be different. And so, a lot of my job is getting something out to the stores that could be new. It could be as simple as a new sign in one in one department in a store. But trying to put that out to 2,000 stores that are all completely different and, have different teams working in them is incredible what goes through that. And I mean that in the best way possible because there's so much that goes into it. And somehow it still works. Yeah. It's really, really incredible.
If each of the stores is different, what makes each Home Depot customer the same? And we did, kind of say there's the pros and there's, kind of the weekend warriors. But what is it about the Home Depot, customer? Who is the Home Depot customer?
It's anyone who wants to make the place that they live the best it can possibly be. And if you're a renter or if you're a homeowner, this is still probably the biggest investment you've ever made in your life is your home. And every one of them is concerned about making it great. And either it's fixing it or it's improving it or just simply making it more fun to live in. Every one of them has that same concern. So they're all alike in that regard. And, it doesn't matter who you are. You still need your house to work for you. There
you go. You still need is that a line or did you just come up with that? Because that's pretty good.
That is good. I might have to trademark that.
Let's do that. Tell the people. What has most surprised you in life?
How adaptable people are, I think.
And this is all generations.
Yeah, this is everybody. Right. Just how adaptable and resilient people can be.
It's really remarkable, actually, right?
It is. As a species, I think we're going to be all right. I think we'll survive.
We're going to...
We're pretty resilient.
We'll get to tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. On the soundtrack of your life, one track, one song that's got to be on it.
Oh, gosh. That's really hard. I could name like an album, but not maybe a single song. For me, it's Billy Joel Live from Russia.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's a great, great album. It's got so much variety in it. Classic songs, things that you could jam out to all the time.
And then do you, as far as the kind of geopolitical context of the thing that was while the Iron Curtain was still up, which is ironic to say in these days and times, but...
well, I didn't intend that, but yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, these are the words that we used then, is what I'm saying. Any of that or no? Just that it's all about the music?
The music is great, and the fact that it's... he just was willing to put it out there in a weird situation and just kind of let himself be himself. I don't feel like he's really censored himself there.
Right.
And just went for it.
Right.
That was a bold move. I like people who make very bold moves like that.
Very bold moves. Go for it. If you're going to do it, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
What did you say earlier that when you were
fail fast?
Fail fast, but
you got to commit.
Committing.
You got to commit to failure.
Yeah.
Or to just try
to do
something.
the thing.
Yeah, to do the thing. Because you're definitely going to fail if you don't commit.
Right. Because what are we doing if we don't commit, right?
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah.
Kathryn Moore, this has been a pleasure.
Pleasure to talk to you.
And there you have Kathryn Moore. Clearly a thinker. Very much appreciated my conversation with her, and I really do always like to talk about those generational similarities and differences and understand where folks are coming from. Her point that depends on where you are in life is a good one. So thanks for her time. Thanks for your time, and stay tuned.